Hello, Andrew Sweeney here. Do you know what one of the hardest parts of creating a course is? It's getting started. It's getting that idea out of your head and putting it into a clear plan that you can action. Some of the biggest obstacles faced by new course creators are: what should I teach? How much should I cover? What should I cover in my course so customers will want to buy it? Well, by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to do it. And as a nice juicy bonus, I'll also tell you what to do to attract the right kind of customers. I'll tell you how to know what to do so not only will you have a list of customers ready to sell to, but how to make sure that they're ready to buy when you do launch your course. And if you stay till the end, I'll tell you how to know what to use for bonuses too to help sell your courses. Most people get this wrong, so let's make sure you don't. But before we get into that, if you want more course creation tips from me, remember to click the subscribe button below. And while you're doing that, hit the little bell so you get notifications when I've got something new for you. And if you like what I teach in this lesson, give me a thumbs up and let me have your comments and questions. I do read them all. Anyway, let's get to it. Now, before I show you how to know what to cover, how much you should cover, and give you some tips that will save you a lot of time and effort in building the perfect course framework, let's just pause for a moment. Because if you don't get right what I'm going to tell you next, it's going to be pointless creating the perfect course because no one's going to buy it. Course Creation 101. If you want to make selling your course easy, if you want a decent conversion rate and you don't want to blow all your potential profits on running ads, you've got to build an audience. So first, you need to be thinking about content to attract potential customers. You need to be thinking about lead magnets, and that's content that you give away to attract customers to your list. The best lead magnets focus on what customers want. Now, notice I said want and not need, and that's because there's a huge difference between want and need. It will become clear as we go through this video. So, before we get to creating your course outline, think about what you have to create to get customers on your list and pre-frame them so they're ready to buy your course when you've finished it. What I'm talking about here, for those who are totally new to online marketing, are lead magnets. Now, if you're not familiar with the term, a lead magnet is just a piece of content that's typically given away for free in exchange for an email address. Anyway, before someone buys anything, you've first got to overcome any objections they have. I mean, that's all selling is really. It's convincing someone that the product or service you're selling is going to do what you promise. But you're going to have to do a whole lot better than just saying your course will do X. You've got to remove the real reasons that's stopping them from buying. And ideally, you want customers to come to this conclusion themselves, the conclusion that your product is just what they need. Let me give you an example. Say I'm selling a course on, let's say, how to build your email list. The objection that's stopping my audience from buying could be, I don't know how to create Facebook ads to promote my lead magnet. It's confusing and expensive. I tried before and I just wasted my money. Another objection could be, I don't know how to create opt-in pages to collect email addresses. Or another one might be, all the tech is confusing, or I'm not sure how to find my audience. They may even have reservations because they've bought a course on list building before and it was rubbish. Now, I could go on, but you get the idea. But unless you remove these objections first, you're not going to sell much. So before I start to build a course, here's what I do. I list out as many of the objections that I can think of, objections that my audience currently have. And then I do a little research. I search YouTube comments, I search Facebook groups, anywhere I can find questions. Then I note them all down, and I also use my own experience and add a few of my own. And then I put them in order of importance. Now, this tells me what lead magnets I need to create to fill up my list. But I'm not just filling up my list and giving away free stuff. I'm not just saying, hey, look, I'm this really nice guy. Look at all this stuff I'm giving you in exchange for just your email address. There's a structure, a carefully laid out structure. I'm giving away free content that answers questions that they currently have. And I'm making sure the content, the free stuff, breaks down their objections, the reasons that are going to stop them from buying my course. If the objection was, say, I don't know how to create ads, I could create a simple guide or maybe a video that shows how easy it is to create ads in, say, Canva. Or I may give away a free guide on finding cheap freelancers on Upwork to create quality Facebook ads. every piece of free content has to deliver value and has to be addressing an objection they currently have. Now notice I say currently have, because I beg you, please, don't go giving them solutions to problems they don't currently have. Don't address problems that they may have later, objections they've not yet thought about. That makes your job even harder. Stick to where they are currently. And when I've listed out all the objections, I then pick the top 4 or 5 and I use these as a guide for what free content to create to start to build my lead magnets. Now, most people think the purpose of list building is to build your list. But it's more than that. It's also to start the selling process. Now, this is really powerful because your audience are open to your message. They don't feel like they're being sold to at this stage. The minute somebody hits a sales page, they get skeptical. The barriers come up and selling gets a whole lot harder. So the more pre-selling you do, the easier it's going to be when you do ask for the sale. Does that make sense? Now, so far, we've talked about what your audience wants, which is the questions that they're currently asking. That's what's keeping them stuck. Let's move on to what they need in order to get the transformation they desire. And this is the job of your course. You start with what they want, which is your free content, and your course delivers what they need. So let's move on to the actual outline of your course. Now, it's pretty simple to come up with a course outline quickly. But first, let me give you a quick tip. The object isn't what to include, it's what you can leave out. And you'll see exactly what I mean in a minute. Because here's what happens most of the time. Here's what most new course creators do. They want to impress. They want to over-deliver. And I totally get that. So what do? They pack as much content as they can in the course. Big mistake. In fact, it's a big mistake for both you and the customer. If you try to do too much in your first course, you run the real risk of biting off more than you can chew. You'll just overwhelm yourself, and your course, it never gets finished. This happens a lot. But assuming you do stick with it, and eventually you wade through and you create this mountain of a course, the poor customer now has to wade through all this content looking for answers, and chances are they won't. They'll just give up. The object, your goal, is to deliver the result with the minimum amount of content. Your customers, they just want transformation, not information. Your customers aren't interested in your course. They're not. They just want the result. They don't wake up in the morning saying, I really hope somebody sells me a bunch of videos and some PDF downloads today. So lots of content doesn't equal more value. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Anyway, that's a sermon out of the way. Let's look at how to map out your course. Start by listing out the steps your customer has to take to get from where they are currently to where they want to be. Let me give you an example of how I start when I'm creating a course. Let's say I'm creating a course on how to build a list. It would look something like this. We've got our customer here, and in order to teach a course on successful list building, we've got to get them to here. So we've got a line from where they are now to where they want to be, which is have a list of customers ready to buy. So I'll draw a line. This is the path, if you like. And on this path, I'll list the steps they've got to go through. Now, I'm only talking high level at the moment. We'll get more detailed later. And before someone posts in the comments that I've missed a topic out, let me say I'm not being super accurate on the topic of list building. I'm just giving you the process in a scaled down fashion. So the first milestone could be selecting an email provider. I've got to show how to select the right email provider. Then next we could have how to identify your audience. Then we could have deciding what to cover, what topics to use for lead magnets to attract people to our list. Then next we could include creating an opt-in page because they're going to need to have a means to collect email addresses. Then the next step could be how to design your free offer, your lead magnet. And once we've got all these in place, the next step could be getting traffic. So that's driving traffic to your freebie. And then we're going to have to know how to keep our list warm. So that milestone would be writing effective emails. And lastly, because one email is never enough, we could have how to create email sequences. So I'll put that in as the last milestone. So here we have a very high level view of the stages we have to take someone through to get them to the finish line. Now this is the starting point. These essentially are the parent chapters for our course. What you have to do now is to start to think about the lessons for each chapter. So what we'll do next is take each one of these parent chapters and then we'll break it down into smaller sections. These essentially will be the actual lessons. For example, let's pick this one, design your freebie. you'd ask yourself, what steps does someone have to take to know how to design a freebie? So again, same format. They're here and this is where they need to get to. So what steps do they need to take to get to the finish line? So same as before, we're going to list the milestones. We could have know what to include in your freebie. Then what software should you use to create it? That would be another one. Next we could have where to find images. And if they're going to be using video, we're going to have to include how to create video. Then there's the design. That could be the next step. Then how to design a basic layout, and should they get stuck or require something a little more polished than they can manage, they need to know how to find someone who can help. So how to hire freelance designers. You'll repeat this exercise for each and every one of the parent listings. But let me give you a quick tip here. At this point, you're just emptying your head. Don't overthink it. List everything down as it comes into your head. And when you've got it all down, the final part of the exercise is then to start chopping stuff out. You want to be combining lessons and removing anything that isn't really required to get the end result. Your job is to have the least amount of content to get the promised result. Now, you're not going to get this right first pass, and typically I'll do this on and off for a couple of days. What I end up with is a very focused list of exactly what topics I need to cover. And when you're finished, you should end up with a very, very focused course outline. And you'll also have a bunch of topics that would be useful but aren't critical to the result. The topics you've removed, these topics are likely going to make great candidates for bonus content to help sell your course. But a couple of pointers on bonus content. A bonus has got to aid progress. It has to support the main course. But the main course shouldn't be reliant on the bonus. The bonus should just make it a little easier. So of course, content-wise, the bonus and the main course, they've got to be related topic-wise. And a bonus should also be short and to the point. There ain't no point delivering a nicely compacted course if you're going to give away bonuses that are bloated. Ideally, you want simple PDFs or templates, something to make it quicker to get a result. When I'm working on creating an outline, I like to keep it simple. Google Sheets work really well. You don't have to use mind mapping software or go sticking hundreds of post-it notes all over your wall. Now, before we wrap up, let me leave you with one point. Your outline is never going to be perfect. You'll constantly be updating it as you get customer feedback, and you'll amend it. And this is why I like Google Sheets. Makes it real easy to keep it updated. Well, there we go. That's it. If you like this lesson, you may want to know that I run a Facebook group just for course creators. So why not join and get tips, tricks and techniques daily? I'll put a link below. Anyway, I really hope you found this video useful. If you did, hit the like button. And I'd also like to have your comments and questions. So you know what to do. Let me know down below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the little bell so you know when I've released more content to help you create your courses. So until next time, bye for now.